Hi, welcome back to InDesign CC 2021, Classroom Read a Book, Chapter 3. This is Part 3 of Importing and Modifying Graphics. When we left off, we had just barely put in our tulips and our pears, and now we're going to go ahead and mess with this cover a little bit. So let's go ahead and go to our links, and let's make sure we click on this butterfly. And we want to make sure that this butterfly is not here anymore. We want to replace it. So we're going to go ahead and do a relink. So go to the bottom, do relink, and we want to go ahead and change that into cover red flower and say open. And it's going to go ahead and put that flower in instead. Do Control minus or Control plus. And let's get that out of the way just a little bit. Let's make the flower show a little bit more. All right, let's do a Control S and save. We were supposed to do that earlier, but I skipped a step. All right, so now we are back to page number 312. Let's go ahead and look at the files. So let's click on our links. Let's make sure on our layers that we are in the photos, or we want to be in background photos. I lied. And then we want to go to here, and we've got our links. We want to make sure we're on our red image. Let's go to Object, Object, Layer Options. And you can see that we've got several different types of images here. So let's turn the preview on. So if I turn on sky with clouds, I'm going to get something different. If I turn on green texture, turn off sky clouds. So I'm going to get a few different things. So I want to go ahead and make sure I leave the sky with clouds and turn off the cobblestones and the others. So that's one of the nice ways of creating images that have multiple options without having to actually create and save a whole bunch of different stuff. So let's go ahead and leave that there, say OK, and do a Control S and save. So sometimes when we're creating content, we need to make sure that an image stays with a certain bunch of text. So maybe there's a certain table that's got to go with a certain paragraph. So that's where we want to create an anchored graphics frame. So let's go ahead and go to View, Fit Spread in Window. And we want to go at the bottom of the pasteboard. We've got a Songs of the Garden. So let's go ahead and zoom in. So you can grab your zoom tool. And zoom in. And we're going to go ahead and add this into a certain area of our text. So let's go to our type. Come down here to Show Hidden Characters. And we want to come in between the paragraphs where we've got Georgia and Addie grew up. So let's go here to our text and add a couple of returns. Come on. There we go. All right, so we want to add at least one empty. Then we want to go ahead and grab our selection tool. And we want to click on the logo. With that logo, we should get a solid red square. And then we're going to take and drag that red square into the text frame. So I'm going to Control minus so I can zoom out a little bit. I take that red square and drag it up into that paragraph. So that is going to anchor that part. So we can make sure that that logo stays with that element. So let's go ahead now and hold the shift and drag the red square up. Oh, I didn't do the shift part. All right, release, then it's anchored. Now if the text in the paragraph is edited, we will stay between the first and third paragraphs. Once the graphic is anchored, we can do type tool. So let's go ahead and grab this, move it up in between here. And we need to make it fit a little bit better. So let's go ahead and select type. And let's go ahead and push enter a few times. Nope, undo. Okay. So it's staying right with that one, which is where we want it. Okay. So we've got our anchor right there, Songs of the Garden. So now we're going to go ahead and add some text wrap. So we want this to kind of play with more nicely. So let's make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to do my Shift Control, make it bigger. All right, I'm going to go ahead and slide it over just a tiny bit. Then I want to grab my text wrap. So window and text wrap if you don't have it open already. And we want to do wrap around shape, which looks like the beach ball. Then we want to go ahead and under contour options, let's do same as clipping. You're going to see we get kind of a box, which we don't necessarily want. But let's go ahead and add a little bit of offset space. So 0.1875, so a couple clicks, 3 clicks. All right, so let's try detect edges instead. And for detect edges, we do get a nicer looking wrap. So let's go ahead and move this anchor up just a little bit. Undo. Make this anchor. And it's not behaving. Let's do it this way. Let's add spaces after the anchor. And get rid of these ones. There we go. But now I lost all the text. See? These weird things even happen to me. All right. Let's go ahead and move this up. I don't play a lot with anchors. It's not something I do very often. So we've got our detect edges. So with our detect edges here, we can actually use that direct selection tool and it'll allow us to change that. So let's go ahead and make sure this is wrapping. So we got wrapped around. We want detect edges. And it's a big old square, which is not what I want. Let's undo it a few times to get back to where I was. There we go. Redo. Sorry, guys. All right, so now we've got our detect edges. What I'm going to go ahead and do is pull it down just a little bit. And I'm going to grab my direct selection. And you can direct select part of your edges here. You should be able to direct select. Here we go. So I can scroll in and I can grab these individual points and move them up, over, and it should make it so that we push things out of the way just a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. Take it down. I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller. Part of it has to do with where my anchor is. I should have put it in a different place. I'm going to go to my fit. Let's do a fit content to frame. Don't love that. Let's go ahead and bring it down a little bit more. And let's go ahead and add a little more padding. I don't know why the top's not padding more. All right, I'm not going to worry about it too much. Let's go ahead and make this frame bigger. Maybe that'll help. Nope, stays with it. All right, so that's the beauty of anchors. It will stay exactly where you tell it to be. I'm not going to mess with it anymore today. We're going to call it good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is add an Illustrator file. So we need to go into our layers panel, come in here to our graphics layer, and we're going to do a file place. Make sure nothing is selected, otherwise it'll go into your box that you have right now. And scoot over just a little tiny bit. Let's do a file place. And go grab the one called flowertitle.ai and say open. And we're going to go ahead and put that flower title over here into this box over here. So make sure preview selected, choose the place the preview. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and click in here. All right. And so now let's do a Control Plus so we can see a little bit more. So this basically has 3 different versions available. I'm going to undo. I want to put that into this one right here. Come on. There we go. So I'm going to put it into this one. So now what I want to do is go to see the different layers that are available in here. And that allows us to look at different things. So let's go to the Layers tab. And we'll see that we've got a few different layers in here. So we've got our flower title and some other elements as well. So we can go ahead and change things out. Maybe there's English, maybe there's Spanish. There's a few different ways to play with that. And I'm not going to mess with it. Let's hit the escape key. We've got that in there now. All right. Object, object layer options. Aha, there we go. So now I can show you with preview. I can show you Spanish or English. Layer 3 is that background. So choose whichever one you like. Let's go ahead and do the Spanish one. And say OK. All right, let's click out and do a Control S and save. And now we're going to do a subject-aware text wrap. So this one's kind of a fun one. Let's go and find the sunflower over here on middle of 6. And we're going to wrap this text to the edges of the sunflower. So in order to do that, we're going to do a View, Fit Page and Window. Close these links for now. I'm going to grab my selection tool and grab that sunflower image. But it may be locked. Let's see. Sunflower image. Okay. And let's see our window and our text wrap. And we want to go to the wrap around shape. And let's go ahead and under contour options, do select subject, which we have. And that path has been created. Let's grab that insect and kind of see how, if as you change it, it's going to change how close it is. I kind of like the 0.25 in the offset box. So we want both right and left. We want select subject. And now it's wrapping where we want it to be, except now the Ricky Records is doing some kind of funky stuff, which we don't like. So let's grab our selection tool, hit this Ricky Records. Let's do a object, text frame options, and let's tell it to ignore the text wrap. And now we get the entire address back on there. So let's say OK. Let's do an Control S and save. Then we're going to go ahead and break this one, and I will pick you up on filling graphics, type with graphics.